Going straight into our discussion segment, we are going to be talking about the president's. We're going to be looking at the president's cabinet, the performance, reshuffling, and all that concerns it. So we're continuing from the conversation we had earlier, but this time we'll be having a guest with us via Zoom to dissect and, properly have this conversation with us today. Now, as President Bola Tinubu's administration marks its 16 months in office, Nigerians eagerly await a comprehensive assessment of his cabinet's performance. Since assuming office, the Tinubu-led government has faced significant challenges from economic instability to security concerns and infrastructural deficits. This analysis provides an objective evaluation of the cabinet's accomplishments, shortcomings, and future prospects. So, joining us via Zoom, we have Jide. He's a public affairs analyst and a developmental consultant. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Lilian. It's my pleasure.
Good morning. Good morning, Mr. Jide. Thank you for
joining us. Yes, good morning.
How are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right. Thank you for joining us this morning on the show. So we're talking about, the president's 16 months in office and how Nigerians are waiting for a comprehensive assessment of his cabinet's performance. But let's get your thought now. How would you assess the overall performance of Tinubu's cabinet so far, considering the economic challenges we're facing from the state of, when it comes to economy, inflation, social challenges that Nigeria is facing? So how would you assess his cabinet and their performance so far?
Well, the ministers have been at the helm of affairs for some weeks, over 1 year now. They were inaugurated in August of 2023. So they've been in the saddle for a whole year. And if the popular day that the money shows the day is anything to go by, I think this cabinet is lackluster. This cabinet is lackluster. First, it's unwieldy. The number is too high. Highest in the history of this country to have 48 ministers, even with President Tinubu making 49. Out of this lot, one has been suspended since January. That's Dr. Betta Edu of Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs. And then another has resigned to join the Senate. That's former governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong. There have not been any replacement for these two. So nobody has been appointed to replace Simon Lalong in Ministry of Labor, and Nkiruka Yocha has not been upgraded to the substantive minister, while the Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs have been running without a substantive minister since January of 2024. The issue for me is that, do we need this number of men and women to run a government in Nigeria? The answer is no. The whole world has been moving towards a smart economy, smart bureaucracy. Let me shock you, Lilian. America, where we copy our presidential system of government, America has only 15 secretaries, which is what they call their ministers, 15. If you add the vice president and the president and the secretary of state, the entire cabinet of US is still under 20. They are still under 20. In Nigeria, that is facing economic crunch, where there is huge indebtedness arising from borrowing, excessive borrowing by this administration, we decided to create additional ministries and appoint the highest number of ministers. I've queried and I've asked, perhaps you can help me out. Why do we need Ministry of Police Affairs when there is Police Service Commission that is constitutionally recognized to appoint, recruit, discipline policemen? Do we need another bureaucracy called Ministry of Police Affairs with 2 ministers to run affairs of Ministry of Police Affairs? Then you still have Police Service Commission, then you have Police Equipment Trust Fund. So when you have all this bloated overhead, the little envelope that you have for operations is little. You have very limited resources for operations because overhead has taken the bulk of your budget. Then what is the value addition that we have with Ministry of Steel Development? What is the value addition with Ministry of Tourism? What's the value addition that we have had with Ministry of Creative Economy, Arts and Culture? What is the value addition that we have had with Ministry of Marine and Blue Economy? So these are just unnecessary drain on the little resources of government that we do not need. We are supposed to run a leaner government, but this administration is just having a bloated bureaucracy. And don't forget, he has also established Ministry of Livestock Development.
Reforms, saying that from the removal of fuel subsidy, so that we could have funds to run the economy, and Nigerians are not even seeing the dividends of that just yet. We've had several reforms that have come up. You've also mentioned several ministries that the president has brought instead of running a leaner government like you suggested. Now, he has his dreams, he has what he intends to achieve with this, but at the same time, would you say, have you seen any major achievement by this cabinet when it comes to in regard of the reforms and what the president is looking at? Have you seen any major achievements? You started off by saying that they are lagged behind and they are lackluster. So have you seen any major achievement? Is there any good thing you can point out from any of the ministries and the cabinet members?
But I would not like to be uncharitable. It's not like there has not been any achievements recorded, but when you pitch the achievement vis-a-vis the expectation, don't forget this government president said he has appointed what's the lady, this Bala Usman's daughter, forgotten her first name, that she's going to be the one to do a scorecard on the ministers. She's going to be the one to give in performance indicators and then report on the ministers. I don't know whether she has been able to, whether Adiza Bala Usman has been able to submit a performance report on the ministers to President Tinubu. But if she has not, I wonder why that delay, because if a person has been in office, I happen to work in the civil society space in the development sector. And in my last place of work, you earn only 1 year of contract, 1 year contract, and subject to renewal based on performance. So if after 1 year you don't perform, they don't renew your performance and they don't renew your contract. That's my exposure in the development sector. So Adiza Bala Usman should tell the world whether she has been able to submit, because I am not privy to the KPIs, that is key performance indicators, that were set for these ministers. Initially, I was making a case for them. For instance, those ministries that were newly created, in August of last year. You remember that because they were not in the budget for 2023, many of them may have to have waited till 2024 budget to have money to run their ministry. So ministry like Marine and Blue Economy, ministry like Culture, Arts and Creative Economy, ministry like State Development, ministry like Tourism, which are new, which were not under Buhari administration. So they possibly have a problem of kickstarting their running their office. But for those that have been there, you ask yourself, most of the policies and programs, which one can you say have been of immense positive impact on Nigerians? I'm struggling to come up with some. Because when you look at the Ministry of Finance, Budget and National Planning, what is the kind of budget we have had? Both supplementary budgets in 2023 and then the 2024 budget of controversies, where a lot of insertions were made. Look at our macroeconomic policies, where the hallmark is a removal of subsidy and floating of naira. Today, a dollar exchange for over 1,600. Do you want me to clap for Minister of Finance, Minister of Budget and National Planning for that kind of achievement? Can that be said to be an achievement when you are inflicting excruciating pains on average citizens? The Minister of Agriculture and Livestock, Minister of Agriculture and Poverty Alleviation. What can we say has been achieved? Is it full surplus? Can we? Under the Buhari administration, we had a caricature of rice pyramid that was displayed in Abuja. Now, beyond the palliatives, there has not been anything significant. Maybe, like I said, let me not be uncharitable. At least Tinubu administration has come up with 70,000 new minimum wage. So that could count for an achievement, but nobody has benefited from that because they have not been able to fine-tune the consequential amendments. Then when you look at all the palliatives that they said they have given to people, what is the number? The number of people who have benefited from these palliatives will impact significantly on the living standard of Nigerians. How many new businesses have been created? How many new employment opportunities? In US, you have figures that look, we have had 250,000 new jobs created in Q1 and Q2. How many new jobs have been created? What we have seen largely are businesses shutting down, multinational companies closing out, and divesting from Nigeria. So I'm struggling to actually recount any major positive achievements beyond the fact that we thank God that government still exists.
All right. Let's. I'm glad you've raised so many points there. Down to you tried to pinpoint the positive and the negative, even if you can really pinpoint the positive. But let's look at scandals, controversies, and public perceptions of the presidential cabinet. Now, we see that some members have been linked to scandals like corruption, mismanagement of public funds, and we have growing concerns about their level of accountability. You know, Nigerians, I know you also made mention of transparency. Give us the figures. Let's see how many people have been employed. Let's see how many people have been elevated from poverty. Let's see how many people have received palliatives. Accurate figures that can be looked into and see that there is no miscalculation somewhere and it's clean and transparent. So let's talk about that and public acceptability now. What is your thoughts on Nigerians' opinion, rather, given the qualifications of people, the scandals that have surrounded them? How can the president rebuild trust in Nigerians when it comes to trying to convince Nigerians that, you know, these people I've brought into power are capable of working and I don't need to reshuffle them, or I need to reshuffle them? How can the confidence and the trust of Nigerians be built again, despite what we've seen with the scandals that have come out from these cabinet members?
Well, in fairness, not many of them have been embroiled in scandals. Beyond Dr. Betta Edu, there was an allegation against her. But again, talking about accountability and transparency, EFCC was asked to investigate her, and you will have expected that within 3 months, the report of that investigation should have been concluded. But it's been like 9 months now. Nothing has been said, whether she's been exonerated or she's been indicted. That lady's life has been left in limbo. She has not been recalled, and neither has she been indicted officially. So we have that. I struggle to see if there is any other cabinet members that have been involved. Yes, Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo was alleged to have been involved in a conflict of interest of sort, but he's been able to explain himself, and it was also during that time of Betta Edu's case, where a company in which Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo has interest was said to have won a contract for verification of the beneficiaries of social registers or something. But that did not stick with him. So part of what I would say has been the achievement of this administration is what Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo was able to do in the Ministry of Interior, particularly with the passport, that he was able to clear backlog of a request for international passports, and people now collect their international passports in a seamless way. So that also brings, I'm not out to demonize this administration. So that also counts for something. That achievements in terms of acquisition of international passport. But on the whole, when you look at what is our GDP, how much improvement has our GDP been able to achieve, what has been the numbers in terms of more employment generated, reduction in poverty, standard of living, improvement in the standard of living, access to social welfare, access to resources. Even when you look at the beneficiaries of the palliatives, you find out that the administration talked about giving about 25 million, about 5 million households, 25,000 naira for 3 months. And you ask yourself, if the National Bureau of Statistics says we have 133 million Nigerians that are suffering from multidimensional poverty, about 2 years ago, that was 2 years ago, given the rising cost of living now, do you think if there is another survey that is conducted, the number will not have increased exponentially? So when you now give 5 million households 25,000 naira for 3 months, what impact, what kind of poverty alleviation are you giving to them when the price of transportation has increased, the rent has increased, food inflation is well over 40%, and all of that? So when you look at those who have benefited from nano, small, and medium enterprises, the figures which have been bandied about, even by official figures of President Tinubu on August 4, when he addressed the nation over the End Bad Governance protest, you will find out that it's just very little. For instance, he said about 600,000 people have, about 600,000 nano businesses have received some intervention, and they intend to take it to like 1 million. Now, this intervention, how much is it? Maybe 50,000 naira. This 50,000 naira does not even pay for shop rent,
Right. Okay.
let alone for you to trade with,
Quickly
because
before
of
we're
the
actually running out of
inflation
time,
of the
speaking of Tinubu, I would
currency.
love to
The
get your thoughts
money
from a
is quite
developmental
insignificant
standpoint.
and the
How would you
naira
rate
is
their
weak.
performance on infrastructure, health, education? In addition to what you're saying, how would you rate the cabinet's performance based on your observation and what you're seeing from a developmental standpoint?
Well, in terms of education, health, and infrastructure, you are also my witness. Save for the fact that the president was able to commission a number of projects in Lagos and Abuja to mark his 1 year in office. Um, and these are not projects that he started from scratch. These are projects that maybe were 70–80% completed under the previous administration, for which he completed them. I applaud him for that, and we should not demean his achievements in terms of that. But those infrastructure are just too few and too insignificant for us to applaud him. Particularly when you look at the cost of executing some of these projects, which is quite gargantuan. Take, for instance, the money that was used to complete the VP Lodge, Vice President's Lodge, that's 21 billion altogether. I think maybe they said additional 7 billion was spent after 14 billion had been spent without completion. So that is also something commendable, but I don't think that should have been a priority of any administration, because the VP was, as a resident, proud to that. But we still find the resources to go and complete that. But in terms of infrastructure, yes, a bit of some roads, some bridges have been completed, for which we are thankful. But when you look at education and health, look at the one that readily comes to mind, particularly education, is the student loan scheme. So the student loan scheme, which about 500 billion has been earmarked. But in one breath, you are giving these people loan. When you say loan, that means this money has to be paid back. Now, many students are resisting imposition of tuition or additional levies in their schools, because that's what it has come to. You want to give student loans, but you also want the school authority to charge additional fees to enable them to run this institution. So that has become a very dicey situation, even in the area of health. And let me give you very quick instance. I was on a panel.
And we wish we could have a longer conversation on this, because there's a lot to look into when it comes to the members of cabinet of the president and the ministers. And even though, although some Nigerians are, indifferent about the reshuffling, but it's something that Nigerians are looking forward to, especially when it comes to judging them based on efficiency and their capability to do the job. Nigerians are calling for ministers to be employed based on quality and ability to work, and not on nepotism. But unfortunately, we've come to the end of this discussion segment. Thank you very much, Mr. Jide Ojo, for joining us. We appreciate your insight and the detailed conversation you've had with us this morning. Thank you for joining us on the show.
It's my pleasure. Keep safe and stay safe.
All right, thank you. God bless Nigeria. Thank you so much. And to you there who's been watching, I hope you've enjoyed the conversation so far. But do not go anywhere. We'll be going on a quick break. When we get back, we'll look at stories that made it to the front pages of the newspaper, and we'll be having our reviewer here with us in the studio. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.